Hello there everybody, Sabara92 aka Nightmare, and welcome back to DS Irae interview with Kaziklu Bey. Well, how do I describe last episode? Shopping trip. And for some reason we discovered that apparently Spine was in charge of the LDO's finances. Well, that was an interesting little tidbit. The more you know. Also, yes, I have been told the whole opening theme is actually sung by Wilhelm's VA. I don't know if I talked about that last episode, but I'll say it now. So it's canonical that Wilhelm is actually a pretty damn good singer. That's pretty fucking hilarious. That's actually pretty good. That's actually quite hilarious to me. The castle was called Wellisburg. It had been bought by Himmler, commander of the SS, and from what I heard, it's been used as the watering hole of some shitty little occult club for the elites. Obviously, most of us weren't part of it. Lord Heydrich and Mercurius were the exceptions. They'd been there since it was active. And now the place belonged only to them. They touched true arcane and worked on real sorcery, letting them rise above the fashion occultists, make the supernatural manifest, and create the obsidian table. You know what that means, don't you? Basically, the castle was no longer normal by that point. Didn't even belong to reality anymore. Sure, I was at Paderborn because it was close to Wellisburg, but it actually didn't matter at all. Spaces that escaped the laws of the world destroyed the concepts of distance and coordinates. It meant that the unworthy couldn't enter even if they spent a century trying, while those invited could come even if they were on the other side of the world. Well, no one had actually tried it, but I was certain I was right. The castle was just that big of a deal. Remember what I said about creating all another world in this reality, and the implications of that? Yeah, exactly. The castle was Lord Heydrich's creation figment. And just like I explained, they can't remain active for long. Even transcendence, which doesn't influence much of the outside world, can be kept up for a few hours at most, while for hegemonies the amount is only a few dozen minutes, if not less. Though I did say my creation figment was cheap to uphold, it didn't stray far from those limits. Basically, maintaining a creation figment is hard as shit. Hell, it's a single person's craving versus the world. Of course it ain't a walk in the park. That's exactly why Lord Heydrich's castle was on a whole other level. Despite being a prime example of a hegemony, by this point it had been active for almost like 2 whole months, and it didn't show any signs of fading to boot. Back then, I didn't really know what that meant, but it works to explain why he was such an immense entity to us. The man was charisma given form. A single interaction with him was enough to change a person beyond recognition. No one could escape his influence. I always believed that. Fervently so. That was exactly why.
Oh, hello there. It's been quite some time.
そんな嘘でしょ
That was exactly why the thing we'd been told once we arrived at the castle surprised me so much. I was completely taken aback. Lord Heydrich sitting atop his throne was extraordinary as always, and basking in his glorious presence made his words even harder to believe. The others probably felt the exact same way.
クリストフ消えちまった。しかり
Oh my god, that face.
残念ながら真実だよ、注意。バレリアン・トリファ神父は蓄電した。
あのバカ、一体何考えてんのよ。
It goes without saying that we weren't the types to be hurt by betrayal, so we were just bewildered by the impossible turn of events. Imagine seeing the sun rise from the west, and that's how we felt. Turning one's back on Lord Heydrich was bad enough already, but there was an extra factor that made it even more unbelievable.
しかし、さっきのおっしゃりよう、もしや彼の行方はまだ誰にもつかめていない。
重ねてしかりだ。まったく不徳の致すところだね。バカな。
Though only barely, I could actually accept that he'd just run away, but the fact that he'd actually escaped Lord Hydric left me at a loss for words. I felt like the world had turned upside down. Not only that, but the Gold himself was smiling in a self-deriding manner, as if he actually believed that he'd been outwitted. A wave of unrest overwhelmed us all. We felt like we were in a nightmarish fever dream.
ケイラ、私を何だと思っている？別に全知全能などではないのだぞ。見えぬことはあるし、違えることも当然ある。中とは盲目的になることではあるまい。
Freaking Samuel, it's like that meme with the freaking Arthur memes. He's take this text of what he just said, put that on there, and then Samuel standing in front of the door like, hey, this can't stop me because I can't read. I don't know. That's just kind of what I figured Samuel, honestly, so.
あの神父はかつて私の肉体と同調した生産杯の資格者だ。すなわち私に化けられるものだと言っていい。少なくともその実績を持っている。故に見逃してしまったのだよ。自分のことほどわからぬものだと昔からよく言うだろう。あれはどうやら真理だ。
Oh, that's right. Valeria Trifa had vanished for quite some time, and his reappearance was kind of a bit of a surprise to some people, so.
つまり
Oh my god, look at her in her beauty mark.
The one to speak up first was Samuel. Though the news probably affected her more than anyone else, I couldn't feel a hint of emotion in her tone.
彼はそれを見切った上で利用したと。
いいや、おそらく無自覚だろうよ。自分のことが分かっておらぬのはあちらも同じだ。
ではこの後クリストフの行き先を突き止めるのは。
ああ、用意だ。その気になれば匂いでわかる。
That could only refer to one thing. Back when Lord Hydric faked his assassination, Kristoff resonated with his body. So regardless of whether he was conscious of it or not, he had the same scent as the gold. It wasn't a smell that I could pick up. But if the man himself said so, I could just assume that was how it worked. It made sense, too. Hunters often covered themselves in the scent of their prey to keep them unaware. Kristoff could only escape Lord Hydric because he'd done something equivalent, and I could honestly praise the bastard for that. But if he did it while unaware, it had the exact opposite effect. The guy didn't even know he was running while spreading Lord Hydric's scent everywhere he went. He might as well have been signaling for us to find him. Because of that, I expected the problem to be solved like it didn't even exist.
とはいえ、おわ。しばらく好きにさせてやるし、ケイラもそう了解しろ。
彼をこのまま見逃すと。
そう。しばらくはな。
We'd all expect to be given an order to find him, so Lord Hydric's words left us dumbfounded. Though most of us were already out of the army register, we still knew what kind of punishment was given to deserters. Kristoff had to die. We had to give him the ultimate lesson in discipline. There was no room for compassion among our ranks, and Lord Hydric wasn't the kind of person to give any.
言ったであろう。あの神父もまた自分のことを分かっておらぬと。それを気づかせるための時間が必要なのだよ。心配せずともそう長くはかからん。じきにすぐにだ。彼の処遇はその時に。ゆえケイラはそれまで余計な真似をせぬように。神父の渇望が熟れて落ちる瞬間を待つ。よいな。
Okay.
I didn't really get it, but we weren't in a position to argue. We all nodded and agreed to not pursue Kristoff. Though I didn't know Lord Hydric's true motives, I assumed that the point of this gathering was to make sure we didn't interfere with the growth of the priest's craving. But...
まあ、下せぬものも多かろうが、 今黄金閣下は一度たりともクリストフという名を使わなかった。その事実をおのおの吟味すればよい。
Hey, Mercurius.
前置きはここまで。本日諸君らを召した理由は別にある。
Mercurius, grinning as always, suddenly stopped standing around like a fucking prop and moved next to Lord Hydric. We all simultaneously raised our heads. We were wary. Each one of us knew full well that nothing of this bastard ever said was good news. If the Kristoff thing wasn't the main deal here, then what was?
諸君らはカチンの森を知っているかな？
Kachin Forest?
カチン？さよう。それぞれの戦場でも噂になっていたことだと思うが。
No?
Sadly, I couldn't recall anything like that. The others were nodding though, and a few were making pretty damn sour faces.
例の虐殺事件ですね。ポーランド人の捕虜たちが帰国の途中で何万人も行方を絶ったという。
Oh shit.
そしてカチンの森から死体がザクザク。なんか私たちの側がやったことになってるんでしょあれ。
But it wasn't?
別に虐殺自体はどうでもいいけど、身に覚えのないことで文句言われるのは気に食わないわね。いや、まあ実際こっちがやったのかもしれないけれど。
状況的にはソ連の仕業としか思えないと聞きましたが。
その通り。しかしあちらもやすやすと認めはしない。戦時にバカバカしい話だが、人道上の建前というものがあるのでね。誰しも己の側に大義があるという理屈を通したがる。故にゲッペルス教がプロパガンダをしているのだが、ここ数年はどちらがやったやらぬの水かけ論だな。私としても事の真相が気にかかってはいるものの、この場に限って言えば関係ない。問題は別にある。
And we were the ones who'd do something about it. We all understood where he was getting at, so he made it brief.
カチンの森で怪異が続発しているとのことだ。これを駆逐してもらおう。なぜとはもはや言うまい。
None of us said a word in response. This wasn't the first time we'd be taking on such a mission.
消えゆく神秘の断末魔だ。カール曰く前座の締めくくりとしては申し分ないらしい。我々がなすべきことをなすために排除すべきものを排除せよ。
You can tell how happy he is.
Yawol! We all nodded. This is a necessary mission for two primary reasons: training and prevention. Since we'd also entered the realm of the arcane, fighting others of our kind helped us understand and evolve our powers. It's also useful for removing anything that could mess up the main act that was about to begin. After all, if anything could stop us, it was other beings of the arcane. Crushing anything that could get in our way was important, and I had no intention of speaking out against the idea. Now, it is our time to decide who actually went there.
バビロン、K だ。あつらえ向きであろう。期待している。
はい、受けたまわりました。必ず。
Hey, Lisa.
An obvious choice. I didn't know the nature of the anomaly, but the place is a forest full of damned corpses. There was no better person for the job. Even so, I didn't feel too good about it. This was the closure to the opening performance, and just waiting around sounded hella boring. Like, come on! Considering they called us all here, I hope they would have sent out more than just one. I looked up and saw Mercurius smiling at me. As always, his vast and vague appearance made my skin crawl.
暇でしょうがないかな、ベイ。ならば結構、お前もカチンへ行くがよい。命じられたのは先の通りバビロンゆえ、同行するなら彼女の指揮下に入ってもらうが。 他の者らも生きたければ志願せよ。バビロンが許す限りこれを認める。
Well then.
我々こそが最後かつ最強の神秘であると自負し、その気概を黄金に示したいというなら止めはせぬ。ということでよろしいかな。
ああ、構わん。最後の腕試しだ。存分にやるがいい。特にベイ、 K にとっては意味あるものとなるだろうよ。
Now I know you're playing me. And you're right. I felt a surge of excitement rush through my body. To be frank, by this point I'd completely forgotten the fact that I had brought Claudia with me. Wielding my fangs according to Lord Hydric's will had always been my greatest honor and purpose in life.
で、お前はカチンに行かねえのかよ。
クリストフのことでいつ命が下るやもしれぬし、そもそもブレンナーの指揮下に入るなど冗談ではない。
Yep, I kind of figured, honestly.
最後の神秘は確かにそそる歌い文句だったが、クラフトの工場に踊るのもごめん被る。
Fair enough.
なるほど。まあ気持ちはわからんでもねえとだけ言っておこうか。
Following the gathering, I went on to have a chat with Samuel. And I still hadn't remembered Claudia or even the castle room I threw her into. My mind was completely focused on Katyn. This woman's real name was Eleanor von Wittenberg. Though our meeting was one of the shittiest you could imagine, neither of us really cared. We were far from friends, but she was the one I could relate to the most in the LDO. She and I were both enchanted by Lord Hydric and pledged unwavering loyalty to him. And besides that, she was the only one who got it.
時によ、この城またでかくなった気がしねえか。
同感だ。そして事実だな。気のせいではない。ハイドリヒ卿のもとには戦場の死者が集まった。この城はその塊だ。故に今この時も増え続けている。もはやどれだけの数なのか見当もつかん。後年この戦で死んだ者の数が弾き出されれば、ある程度の予想を立てることもできるだろうがな。
Wait, you telling me that nobody's even keeping count?
Well, the problem is that we had Spine in charge of the finances. I figured that he would be the one to count it, but no, he's too busy counting all the money that we keep taking.
Oh. Yeah, that sounds about right.
今は到底数えきれんよ。そして算出できん以上、無限とすら言っている。いや実際、ハイドリヒ卿の器は無限なのかもしれん。そうであっても不思議はなかろう。
I have no idea why I gave Samuel the Morgana voice, but I think it fits.
確かにね。
Hey, see, Bay agrees with me.
Holy shit, the visual! I too believed that his capacity was infinite. The only way his creation figment could be active for 2 months was if it was supported by a vast amount of souls, which, just as Samuel had said, was still growing. Most would assume that it was because the number of dead produced by the battlefields throughout the land outmatched the amount that he'd used to uphold the castle, but I thought otherwise. I had a hunch. No, I was absolutely sure that he had yet to consume a single soul for this. Basically, imagine a stupidly huge gymnastic formation. Since the stress was spread out all over, no one involved found it particularly difficult or saw the need to give up.
It's kind of like the whole exercise where if you had like a bunch of toothpicks and you get the glue and you get the tape and you rearrange all the toothpicks in a perfectly special formation where they're all distributed around, you can actually stand on the formation that you build out of the toothpicks. I remember doing that in art class.
In military terms, it was an army with the absolute perfect formation. It's so well organized they could call it a work of art, and it became the castle's foundation in the most literal sense. The efficiency involved was abnormal, and it was a prime example of his mystifying talent as a commander. When following a leader who wielded people so well, even the lowliest grunt could become a hero. Lord Hydric had the power to inspire his subjects and lead them without a flaw to name. Man took all the souls in his possession and uplifted them into legends, greatly improving their quality. See what I'm getting at? Lord Hydric was already putting the idea I came up with into practice. Not to mention that he had the quantity as well. The man never stopped filling me with awe.
愛しているから彼は全てを愛しているから全てを飲み込みまた壊すまさにバルハラをなすエインフェリアの軍勢だ私はその列に加わりたい貴様はどうだベイ
Was that even a question?
マキナが生まれるところを見ちまったからなこの城のいやハイドリ秘境の一部になれば不死身になれるよく知らねえがそれをエインフェリアって言うんだろう
そうだ貴様教育と呼ばれるものは何も受けていないだろうに勘だけはいいのそういうところは評価する
You know, I know you just called me stupid, but I'll take that as a compliment.
改めて聞くが怖くはないのだ
当たり前だろこんな名誉がどこにあるお前は違うっていうのかよ
いや違う私も全くの同感だ
This is what I meant when I said that she got it. In the entire Obsidian table, Samuel and I were the only ones who knew the nature of Lord Hydric's blessing, and continued seeking it regardless. Machina seemed to know it as well, but he was rejecting it. Though he wasn't opposing us and acted rationally, so I didn't intend to get in his face about it. He did seem like a fucking idiot to me, but his death was his own dumb wish, and I didn't mind respecting that. Kristoff had probably escaped because Lord Hydric's blessing scared him shitless, while Shirodebby was just too fucking demented to piece it together. The rest are probably interpreting it however they wanted. You know how it is. You focus too much on something and you lose sight of the bigger picture. Though in this case, it was more like they were just blinded by the gold's light. Whatever the case, they didn't know his true nature. Anyone who thought he was all about just giving love was downright fucking stupid. Especially if they thought it was free. You had to be brain dead to believe Lord Hydric would hand out immortality and resurrection to anyone who asked nicely and just let them go on their way. No. They'd be taken in by Gladsheim and become a part of him. This made me think of the women. Bitches in general tend to see things how they wanted them to be. Malleus and Babylon in particular seemed blissfully unaware, and I had no idea what they'd do if they found out. Not like I plan on telling them, but I did hope they'd figure it out themselves. There was nothing to hate about someone who reached the same epiphany as Samuel and I.
しかしそうなるといまいちわかんねえのはベアトリスだなあいつはバカだが一応あんなでも兵隊だ気づかないはずもねえそして気づいたならギャーギャー言ってくるのがあの潔癖お嬢様だろなのにその手の話は一切しねえ正直言うと俺は少しばかり不気味だぜ
Samuel fell silent, probably because it was a mystery to her too. Still, this wasn't something that could be unpacked and solved with just her and I.
いずれわかるさあるいは直接私から奴へ問うことになるかもしれんもともとキルヒアイゼンの世話を焼くのが私の仕事みたいなものだから
ああだったらそのことはお前に任すぜだがあっちはあっちで少佐の世話を焼くのが私の仕事ですとか思ってそうな話だな
Okay, I know I complimented you about being perceptive, but that was just irritating. Am I right? Fuck off.
貴様の知ったことではないわ
Fucking called it. In fact, over a half a century later, we came to know Beatrice's goal, but whatever. It's unrelated to the story.
貴様は貴様で任を果たせよハチに行くのは勝手だがせいぜい無様を晒さんようにそれと世話云々の話になれば貴様にもうるさい小娘がついているだろうあの二層を今回どうする連れて行く気か
ああそりゃお前当たり前だろ
Thanks to her words, I finally remembered Claudia. Oh yeah, and she was coming with me to Kachin. Why? Just because I didn't want her to die while I was away. We were at war, she was dumb and careless, and I couldn't really ask anyone else to look after her. Especially not Samuel. Most of all, I figured it was possible that getting a taste of battle might make her change into what I wanted her to be. I didn't know much about the anomaly at Kachin, but the situation there probably wasn't something a person with a normal psyche could bear. When it made her mind burn out and blow up, she would awaken. That was all I really wanted of her.
言っちまえばあいつは戦闘糧食みたいなもんだ。
なるほど。では選別だ。これを貴様に渡しておく。
Huh?
なんだよいきなり。
Oh?
Samuel gave me some sort of envelope. From its appearance, I could tell the thing inside was official.
ザムの処理をしている時に偶然だが見つけてな。余計な世話かもしれんが目を通しておけ。貴様が欲していることのためには必要なものだと考
え。I couldn't even begin to understand what she was getting at, but I had no real reason to refuse.
あ、こんなところにいたんですね、ビルヘルム。探しましたよ。
てめえ、おとなしく待ってろっつったろうが。何勝手にフラフラほっつき歩いてやがる。
Seems to be, I don't know, she seems to be handling herself quite well here.
いや、だってそれはその。
ではな。
When we accidentally found the idiot, the situation got all messed up. Samuel left without telling me more about the envelope, and more than that.
一体どこで何してやがったんだよ。
そこは内緒です。
I should have forced her to answer. Of course, I remember that Lord Hydric had called for her, and I let them meet. A single exchange was enough for me to lose interest, but at the very least, it was clear Mercurius wasn't lying. Still, the anomaly at Kachin was just so big in my mind that didn't spare a thought. I do look back, and I think I should have examined the situation more thoroughly.
To be fair, you are more wild, so yeah. Not so thorough, are you, boy?
Not like I want to make excuses here, but the circumstances just didn't allow me to consider everything. Basically, it was a turbulent time.
見てください、あれ。戦車です、戦車。戦車いっぱい並んでます。
そうですね。実に勇壮な光景です。戦争そのものは忌むべきことで、ない方がいいに決まってるんですが、だからといってそこに関わる全てを否定するのは間違っている。特に兵士一人一人の気持ちについては、敵であろうと味方であろうと、彼らはそれぞれ大事なものを胸に抱いてそこにいます。国家の未来、友人や恋人、そして家族の安寧を願う心は決して貶められるべきではない。時代の狂気などと後年言われたくはありませんし、ましてかわいそうな犠牲者みたいに上目線の同情をされたくはないですよ。だってそれじゃあこの時代に生きた全ての人々は自分で何も選べないバカと言われているようなものじゃないですか。
The naive woman blessed us with her outlook, while Claudia nodded like she was moved. I, on the other hand, was completely fed up with it.
おいこら、クソチビバカ女。てめえはなんでここにいんだよ。
He looks so fucking dead.
As we rode the train toward Kachin, I asked her the same thing I'd already asked many times. Of course, I already knew the answer and was aware that it wouldn't change a damn thing, but I wasn't magnanimous enough to conveniently look at it the right way and act accordingly. It pissed me off and annoyed me like fuck, so I just kept complaining, simple as that.
なんです？またそれですか。いつまでもぐちぐちと鬱陶しい男ですね。
And friggin' Claudia's in between them, isn't she?
そもそもあなたに私の行動をうんぬんする権利はありません。リザさんがいいって言ったんだからいいんですよーだ。
そのバビロンは今いねえじゃねえかよ。この場の指揮系統はかなり曖昧な状態だぜ。つうかデタラメか。
Oh my god.
いくらなんでもこんなやろ。
今は私が指揮官なのです。
Oh my god.
Claudia chuckled and puffed her chest, and it almost made me want to fucking kill her right then and there.
だから二人とも仲良くしないとダメですよ。命令です。
Why? No, I don't wanna.
嫌なこった。
The actual person in charge over us on this mission, and the one with the highest rank, was Babylon. She wasn't with us at the moment, though. She said she would scout ahead, gather information and whatnot, and went on to Kachin ahead of us. Normally that was a job for the underlings, but we couldn't argue against it because she was the most normal-looking and least menacing of us all. In all honesty, it was hard to deny that she had the aura of your common modest lady, and I thought that even while knowing the truth about her. Because of all that, I saw no problems with Babylon going there first. Kachin was Soviet territory and a controversial place in general, and I knew full well that strolling around there in army uniforms wasn't the best idea. You had to pick the right people on the right task. What the fuck was I supposed to make of the shitty situation that left me in?
ベイ、子供じみた解釈は見苦しいですよ。あなたがそんなだからこういうことになってるんでしょう。
Look how happy she is.
リザさんもあれで意地の悪い人ですからね。私としても不本意ですが、あなたに首輪をはめるならクラウディアが適任なのもまた事実。だいたい元を正せばこの子を連れてきたのが悪いんじゃないですか。ただの自業自得ですよ。
うるせえな。それを言うならてめえがしゃしゃってきたから俺はイライラしてんだよ。そういやさっきもなんか言ってやがったな。時代の狂気、それぞれの思いと選択だ。なら俺らが決めた関係にごちゃごちゃ横から抜かすんじゃねえや。てめえに筋も通せねえのか。
それとこれとは話が全く違います。あなたみたいなクソ男の毒牙にかかろうとしている女性のことを私は見過ごしたりできません。断固絶対に阻止しますよ。ええ、騎士たる意地と誇りにかけて。
おいクラウディア、お前指揮官ならこのたわけ野郎クビにしろや。今すぐ消えろと言ってやれ。
バカですか。あなたこそ消えてください。それからクラウディアもいい加減に目を覚まして。こいつのクズっぷりはもう分かっているでしょう。いやー、
これは参りましたね。
You just seem to be enjoying this quite a bit here, Claudia.
そんなのこっちのセリフですよ。
俺のセリフだボケなすこら。
Technically, it's Claudia's line, but whatever.
So yeah, the situation was the result of Beatrice finding out I was taking Claudia and furiously volunteering to tag along. It was really fucking annoying, like holy shit. If that wasn't enough, we were passing a bunch of battlefields too. Wouldn't it have been weird if we were bombed or gunned down the very next moment? Of course, it didn't mean shit to me and Beatrice, but the fact that the one most endangered here was so nonchalant about it put me on edge. We weren't really in any position to pretend this was some fun trip.
まあまあ落ち着いてください二人とも。あまりいがみ合ってばかりだと今後の段取りに支障が出るかもしれないじゃないですか。そろそろ列車移動も限界だから次で車に乗り換えると聞きましたよ。それは激戦地にどんどん近づくことでもあるんですから。
ええ、はい。確かにそうですね。ここから先は鉄道も破壊されていると聞きますし、仮に通っていても堂々と行くべきところではありません。
I see.
リザさんが手配を済ませているはずですから、そのお世話になりつつ上手にやっていく必要がありますね。
Beatrice smiled wryly. There was a certain weight to her tone that I couldn't resist mocking in my head. At that point, the so-called Russo-German war was going real badly for Germany. So much that turning the tides was fucking impossible. Felt like it wouldn't take long for Berlin to fall. Germany had never done anything for me, so the fact it was getting fucked over made me feel a bit of glee. Beatrice, though, looked pretty damn miserable. She clearly didn't share my opinion, which I found pretty fucking funny. Claudia apparently wanted to cheer her up.
リサさんですか。あの人はなんていうか本当にできる女性なんですね。またハリみたいでかっこいいです。
Mata Hari? Hari?
またハリ？ああ、確か前の対戦で活躍した女性スパイでしたっけ。よく知っていましたね。
Wait, what?
はい、実は結構 活劇ものの本や映画が好きなんです。神に仕える身ではしたないとよく怒られましたけど。
Wait, what kind of action films you talking about?
ここまでもこう実にスパイ的なシーンがいくつもあって不謹慎ですがドキドキしました。ワルシャワから帰る時とはあまりに違っていたもので。
お前がさっきからニヤついてたのはそのせいかよ。
Oh my god. Okay, this conversation was so pointless I couldn't help but comment. During war, it was normal for a country's transportation network to become military focused, and the trains like the one we were riding weren't an exception. That made traveling harder for every civilian, but the soldiers were even less free in that regard. After all, we couldn't go anywhere unless we were on a mission or something. Because of that, traveling long distances using standard means is impossible for us. We'd have to avoid the tons of identity checks along the way, and the fact I didn't do that when I was taking Claudia from Warsaw caused tons of trouble. This time, however, Babylon went ahead and prepared an uneventful journey for us. I didn't know or care about the details, but apparently we were now recognized as a group going on a super important mission. Not like that was a lie, though. The only difference was that the order came from Lord Heydrich, not the Fuhrer.
まあなんでもいいがくだらねえボロは出すなよ。カチンまではまだ遠い。歩いてくのはさすがにめんどくせえからよ。
Fair.
ええ、分かってます。ただその家賃についてなんですが、具体的に現地では何が起こっているんでしょう。
さてね、俺にとっちゃ何でもいい。それともお前、アマさんよろしく祈りで俺らを助けようとか思ってんのかよ。
Maybe.
虐殺されたっつうかわいそうな連中の恨みを浄化して差し上げるのか。はっ、笑わせんな。
I don't know, she might be able to pull it off. You never know if you might just give it a try. You know what I mean? Chucky, you never know.
ベイ、あなたほんとつくづくいい加減にしなさい。自分から彼女を引っ張り込んだくせに何ですかその言い草は。
Yeah, it is quite rude. Seemingly tired of mouthing off, Beatrice heaved a sigh. To be frank, I'd only said what I thought, so I had no fucking clue why she talked down to me.
ごめんなさいクラウディア。気を悪くしましたか？
いえ、もう慣れましたし、彼が言っていることもわかります。仮にも兵士の目から見れば、現実の人死にを前に祈るしかしないものは疎ましいでしょう。それはそれで不実だと私も思っていますから。家賃の犠牲者たちを弔いたいという気持ちはもちろん持っていますけどね。今はともかくあなた方の迷惑にならないよう努めたい。だからいろいろ聞きたいのですが、そもそも怪異とは何なのですか？どうも聞く限りこういうことは初めてじゃないのでしょう？
ああ、それはその。
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if Beatrice didn't just want to say it or just couldn't explain outright, but she clearly couldn't find the words, so I spoke up.
魔術師狩りだよ。
魔術師？
Yeah.
まあ、少なくともこれまではそうだったな。
We use the word anomaly to describe strange events. Supernatural phenomena, basically. The fact that something like that was happening could only mean there was something abnormal involved.
でも生の魔術師様とやり合ったわけじゃねえ。そういう連中はこの100年くらいでほぼ絶滅しちまったらしいからな。知ってる範囲で生き残ってるのはマレウスとメルクリウス。同列に語るべきもんじゃねえだろうが、そんくらいだ。
あとは英国のクローリーですかね。本物と呼んでいいのは他にほとんどいないと聞いています。
Ah. Despite falling silent a moment ago, Beatrice just joined the conversation again. Bitch just didn't seem to like letting me say what I wanted.
ちょうど産業革命あたりからです。工業の発達と反比例して古い神秘は消えていったということですよ。
なるほど、なんとなくわかります。最近は信心深くない人も増えていますし、なり手が少なくなったということですね。
Yeah.
まあ 飛行機で空を飛べる世の中に夢は見にくいということでしょうか。私の印象だと魔術師は時代に逆行していますから。
何でも古い方がいいと思ってるような老害だわな。
They're the kind of people who rejected phones and telegrams and chose to waste time and energy sending messages themselves. Oh, well, acting like hot shit because of it. They also fuck around with nature's elementals or whatever it says using a fucking match. On average, that's just how most magicians and those influenced by them were. Malleus wasn't too big when it came to this, but she also wasn't different enough to be an exception.
別に珍しい話じゃねえだろ。そこらの仇でも年寄りほど機械音痴だ。あれは覚えられないんじゃなく、覚える気がねえんだよ。古き良き世界ってやつが好きなのさ。そしてそういうもんは大体が錯覚だ。
Word traditionalism came to mind, but I didn't know if that fit. Basically, these people believe the past is always better than the present. Sure, that was probably right in some cases, but I didn't reject the notion of lost technology. But the magician's worship of the past is fucking insane.
連中の頭の中じゃ、古代人は不思議な力で、現代真っ青の大戦争でもしてたことになってんだろ。アホかっつんだわ。真剣な石黒積み上げてたような原始人の分際でよ。
Last magician I came across kept yelling magic missile. My god, he was annoying.
もしそんな力があったんなら、なんでピラミッドが空中要塞じゃねえんだよって話だぜ。
Now there's an image.
The fact that they didn't survive into the modern day meant that at best the powers that existed, but were defeated and vanished. And it was stupid to believe that some shitheads who'd lost were superior.
だから俺の考えだと。
レイ、さっきから話がそれまくってます。クラウディアはそういうことを聞きたいんじゃありません。とにかくですね、現存している魔術師はごくごくわずかなんですよ。好意のものなら延命の手段も有しているそうですが、それでも限界はありますからね。以前マリウスから聞きましたが、最初の100年を突破できるものからして非常に稀有らしいです。
100年だったら結局普通の人と寿命は変わらないんですね。
あいつは200年くらい生きてるって聞いたがよ。
そうなんですか？
一応聞いた限りは。だけどただの見えっ張りかもしれませんし、話半分と思ってください。私が言いたいのは、これまで見てきた怪異も価値にあるという怪異も正体は魔術師そのものじゃなく、いわば残滓。ベイが言うところの空飛ぶピラミッドですよ。
はい？
Claudia tilted her head in confusion and no one could blame her. What I'd said and what Beatrice added didn't click at all.
空飛ぶピラミッドはないと先ほどビルフェルムは言っていましたが、
その辺説明しようとした時にこいつが潰しやがったんだよ。まったく邪魔ばっかりしやがるアホだ。
私はあなたの偏った考え方をクラウディアにすり込みたくないだけです。
Gotta protect the innocent mentality of Claudia. Gotta protect that. Even from Wilhelm. Gotta protect that.
だとこら。
何ですか？やりますか？
Mildred, do I need to put you in the corner?
もういい加減にしてください。2人とも喧嘩しながら説明されたら論理がめちゃくちゃになるのは当たり前でしょ。なのでここはビルヘルム、あなたにお願いします。言いかけたことがあるなら最後まで言ってください。
Haha, I'm teacher's favorite.
なんかそう言われるとめんどくさくなってくんな。
ベイ、
お願いします。
I was being urged by two women. I had no intention of giving in, but resisting seemed like an even bigger pain in the ass.
わかったわかった。そんならパパッと説明すんぞ。魔術師なんて連中は基本的に古いもん好きの老害だが、立ち悪いのは思想と実情が食い違ってるっつうことだ。
というと？
だからそっちの世界も実は日進月歩なんだよ。1000年前の魔術師より今の魔術師の方が強え。
Because in Deus Irae, the more you deny reality, the more insanely powerful you become.
現実に古代のエジプトでピラミッドは飛んでない。当たり前だわな。けど連中はそのことを認めねえんだよ。飛んだはず、飛んだに違いねえ。なぜなら飛行機だって飛んでるし、昔はもっと素晴らしくないとおかしいから。そして次にこう思う。だったら自分も飛ばしたいってな。わかるだろ？文明が進歩すりゃ、それに応じて神秘の程度も変わるのさ。
In the ancient past, even a magician who could light a simple fire was a cut above the rest, and knowing how to cure diseases could probably make you a god of some shitty settlement. These days, though, no one gives a rat's piss about that. Thus, the past-worshipping old fucks are constantly trying to surpass the reality before them.
崇高で洗練されて、神秘の力に満ち満ちていたはずの過去が、こんな機械文明に負けるはずねえ。自分はその意志を継いでいる誇り高い魔術師様で、先人の偉大さを証明する義務がある。ってよ、もはや病気だぜ。
だから日進月歩？
そういうことだ。
Well, from what I can tell, magicians went extinct because they became unable to compete with civilization's progress. Back then, you probably had magicians of all skill levels all over the place. But when the times changed, only the best of the best remained.
当たり前に科学と同じで新しい方が強いんだよ。なんせ超えなきゃいけねえハード。
Oh my god, that was an accident. I am so sorry. Can I go back? Can I go back, please? Oh. Yes, I can.
当たり前に科学と同じで新しい方が強いんだよ。なんせ超えなきゃいけねえハードルが違うからな。
Pearl they gotta leap is bigger after all. Mercurius is the prime example of that. Though I didn't know whether his whole thing was counted as magic since it could even involve fusion with machines. Still, this was an age where tanks cracked the earth. Airplanes soared the skies and bombs could reduce hundreds to dust. The manifestation of this arcane surpassed even that. Listen, I'm the last guy I'd want to praise him, but I wasn't stupid enough to deny that he was the real deal. If he wasn't, we wouldn't be like this.
まあ大体同感ですが、今のはあくまで私たちの考えです。所詮は門外漢に過ぎませんし、本当のところどうなのかは分かりません。ただこの理屈で言うと、家賃の怪異は比較的新しい魔術師の仕業ですね。
現代でも不思議と認識されるほどのものだから？
そういうことです。この100年ほどが激動だったと言ったでしょ。おそらくはその前後くらいに残されたものじゃないのかと。原理はまだ不明ですが、虐殺でスイッチが入ったんだと思いますよ。それを排除するのが私たちの仕事です。
つうわけだ。納得したか？
Claudia momentarily fell silent before nodding.
はい、流れは理解しましたし、あなた方の考えにも同感です。昔を崇めるのも大事ですが、そうやって過去を敬いながら歴史を見ないというのは矛盾ですからね。人が積み上げてきたものを認めずに、最高点はもう過ぎ去ったなんておかしいですよ。
ええ、私もそう思います。しかも聞いた話によると、魔術師の多くは弟子を取っていたというから、もうめちゃくちゃですよ。あなただって積み上げることに終始してるじゃないですかと。やってることは未来を見据えた進化なのに、考えてることは昔々古いほどすごいと最高。
Incredibly contradictory.
なんて言うんですかね。率直なところ頭がどうかしていますね。
Claudia's sudden burst of laughter surprised both me and Beatrice. I looked at her face and saw her wiping the edges of her eyes.
二人とも本当に魔術師が大嫌いなんですね。いつもは喧嘩ばかりしているのに、こういう時だけ悪口のノリがそっくりですよ。 実は仲がいいんですか？
Oh god, don't even.
There we go.
It was less about magicians and more about just Mercurius for me. I couldn't stomach the guy, and everyone besides Lord Hydric felt the same way. This matter was on a whole different level than getting along. Beatrice and I said everything we could to fix Claudia's demeaning valuation, but she just smiled and nodded all the way through. At that moment, the train suddenly stopped.
あ、着いたみたいですよ。じゃあ次の任務に出発進行。
Oh yeah? I can only hope that we'd meet up with Babylon as soon as possible. I knew it was my own fault for dragging her along, but taking care of the substitute leader was about to make me snap. After getting off the train, we traveled to Kittim by car, constantly switching vehicles along the way. Even with Babylon's prep work, the fastest route was unusable, so it took us pretty damn long to get there. About 2 days or so, I think. Oh yeah, we went without stopping even once. Sure, we took turns driving, but we weren't in a situation where we could just chill in a hotel, camp, or sleep in the car. I wanted to get there ASAP, while Beatrice said something about not wanting to let me see a woman while she's sleeping. I thought the nightly thing to do in that case would be to let the women get a good night's rest, but fuck, what do I know about that? Anyway, Claudia didn't complain at all, so we went all the way without a proper rest. Though she looked like a walking corpse during daytime, she was all smiles as usual. The woman was a damn idiot who really loved the sun despite the fact that it burned her. Claudia saw herself as half a person, desperately lacking, so she probably just really wanted to feel the world she didn't have. Maybe she just wanted to feel like she was walking toward what she believed to be her bliss. Even if her means and their results made her look like a dumbass, I decided to stop ridiculing her beliefs. Though that sentiment came further down the line. Anyway, after 2 or so days of travel, we met up with Babylon. Our meeting point was at the side of a nameless lake not too far from the town of Smolensk.
Can somebody tell me how to pronounce that?
It was shortly after dusk.
ようこそっていうのも変だけど、待ってたわよ3人とも。ここまで困ったことはなかったかしら？
Hey, Babylon.
ありまくりだぜ。お前の指揮能力に俺は疑いを禁じ得ねえ。せめて代理の指揮官くらいしっかり適正見極めてから任命しろっつう話だ。
またそのことですか。あなたはほんと見かけによらずしつこいですね。
そうですよ。私頑張ったじゃないですか。
頑張った？ああ、頑張ったよな、意味もなく。誰も保証に色仕掛けかましてこいなんざ言ってねえのに、指揮官様が積極的で、ああ、助かったぜ、本当にクソが。
Hey, whoa, what?
だってそこはまた張りのように。
うるせえな、俺はそんなババア知らねえし、どうでもいいんだよ、ボケ。
Oh my god, why? Why did you greenlight this, Beatrice?
確かにあれは結果的に失敗しましたけども。
結果的だ。1ミリでも成功すると思ってたお前に俺は戦慄するわ。その貧相な胸でケツで釣られる男がいるわけねえだろ、間抜け。
Oh my god.
ひどいです。いくら私でもそうバッサリ言われると傷つきます。
そうですよ。ちょっと今のは言い過ぎです。
なんだかよくわからないけど、つまりベイは焼き餅を焼いてるの？
I am not goddamn jealous.
誰がだよ。お前も頭湧いてんのか、こら。
See, now you're just being teased, boy.
I snapped at them, but quickly concluded that my logic was too weak a force against 3 women. Claudia had pulled tons of other shit, but I figured that dam would break before I was done naming it all, so I decided to change the subject.
それで、こっちの状況はどうなってんだ。
うわ、自分から文句言い出したくせに途中で逃げましたよ、こいつ。
Oh, fuck off and answer the question.
はぁ？誰が逃げたって？
I need to get out of character, good god. I'm starting to become too much of a goddamn potty mouth while freaking voicing him.
はいはい、静かにしましょう。命令です。
Yes, ma'am.
てめえはてめえでいつまで指揮権持ってるつもりだ、このボンクラ。
Behave.
とりあえず楽しい道行きではあったよね。よかったわ。
Well, I'll just leave all that pointless bullshit aside. Let's get to the meat of the matter. Babylon's smirk faded as she coughed and began acting like the leader she was supposed to be.
それじゃあ漫談はここまでにして切り替えるわよ。まずはそうね。軽いおさらいからしておきましょうか。この
Alright.
辺りは1年前までドイツ軍の占領下にあったんだけど、今は残念ながら取り返されている。だからあまり大騒ぎしないように。なんなら今すぐもう一度奪ってもいいと思ってるかもしれないけど、私たちが今回しなきゃいけないことはそれじゃないから。分かってるわよね。
ああ、別にそんなもん興味ねえし。
自国を奪還するならまだしも、侵略は好みじゃありませんから大丈夫です。
ええ、私も同感。だけど一時侵略したのは確かだし、それに対する抵抗も合わさって主権が曖昧になった時もある。
その頃に虐殺が
というのがソ連側の主張ね。おかげでどっちがやったのかよくわからなくなっている。その辺の真相はいずれ明らかになることを願ってるけど、副首領閣下殿も言ってた通り、今は棚上げ。とうに赤十字も撤退してるし、後に残ったのは謎めいた死体の山よ。
The Red Cross? You mean like the blood drive Red Cross?
見つかってるだけでも約5000体。
Oh, that's a hefty number.
5000。しかも氷山の一角ですか。
その 4,5 倍は埋まってるんじゃないかとさ言われているわね。あなたならこれをもったいないとでも思うかしら、レイ。
だな。命の無駄遣いはいただけねえよ。
Polish people killed by the Soviet shitheads didn't even go to Lord Heydrich's castle. No matter how you looked at it, they'd all died in vain. A shame, really.
でだ、ここにどんな会議が起こってるんだ？ベタに幽霊でも出んのかよ。
近いけど違うわね。もっと単純に生々しいわよ。死体が森の中を歩き回っている。
Oh, shit.
Babylon's straightforwardness emphasized the reality of the situation. I could easily form an image of what gone down from her spiel. The Forbidden Forest, that was the location of a mysterious massacre. A horde of undead that haunted it every night. Needless to say, it was a pretty enticing situation for me.
副首領閣下が言い出した以上愚問でしょうが、それは本当なんですか？
少なくとも犠牲者は出てるわね。だから危ない何かがいるのは間違いない。
I like that artwork.
動物の仕業じゃないんでしょうか。熊とか狼とか。
It could have also been survivors who were doing so bad you could mistake them for corpses, but Babylon rejected all such rational assumptions.
死に方が普通じゃないのよ。人でも獣でもあんなことはできない。みんな干からびてたわ。まるでミイラみたいにね。
Oh!
ミイラ。
Beatrice looked at me. No one could fault her for that reaction, but it still really pissed me off.
あいにくと、俺はこんなところに知り合いなんざ持っちゃいねえよ。だいたい相手が魔術師なら珍しくもないことだろうが。
そうね。彼らは何かを成すとき、石油や電気とは違う種類のエネルギーを求める。もっと古い自然科学的な概念の一言で言えば生命力。水や大地や火や風や、そういうものに宿る罠だったかしら。星の血液みたいなものね。だから生物の血や魂を利用するのも珍しくない。もっとも 人に限っては使い勝手が良くないとされているみたいだけど。
So you'd probably end up needing a large amount of humans just to get a substantial amount of power.
正確には使いたくても使えねえ。だろ?
This wasn't my specialty, so I didn't know the details, but apparently using people to fuel magic wasn't a good idea. Not because it was weak, but because controlling it was hard and risky as hell. Basically, humans are just too lowly and depraved. Their greed alone is enough to drive them to destroy nature, so they make for fuel that outclasses all that nature can provide. Trying to use it is just fucking suicidal. You know all that shit about pollution and environmental damage, right? It kind of proves they're above nature, doesn't it? To make use such power, you need to emulate that feature, which is tantamount to destroying yourself.
自分の魂を使えば当たり前に衰弱死の危険が高いし、かといって人の魂だと我のぶつかり合いが起きて正気を保てなくなりかねない。あるいはもっと漠然とした運命的な意味だとしても、エゴ、欲望、そういうものが人間の一番強い力だから、そのまま使えば自滅しちゃうっていう理屈ね。そこについての議論はともかく、魔術の競技じゃそうなっている。なので人間の生命力を使うときは謙虚にいかないといけないらしいわ。偉大な自然に比べれば私なんか取るに足らない存在ですと真から思い込んで騙すみたいな。自分にしろ他人にしろ、要は希釈ね。現役のままじゃ危なすぎだし、薄めたら持ち味を削いでしまうから弱すぎる。
Okay.
結果、どっちにしろ使えない。人間を魔術の燃料にするのは賢くないってことになる。
But what could be bad is if somebody actually managed to use humans successfully as magic fuel, which in turn could make them extremely dangerous.
普通はね。
I noticed that Beatrice was making a bitter expression, probably because she'd just been told that she wasn't normal. I mean, think about it. We were all using human souls as fuel, and of course I wasn't a single humble person at the obsidian table. We were all greedy egoists right down to the core, and Beatrice is no exception. So according to Babylon, we were just a bunch of lunatics walking a one-way road to self-destruction. Foolish and wicked, we were the prime example of the ignoble beast of man. I wanted to argue that it didn't apply to a true ancestor like me, but she wasn't completely off the mark either.
家賃の魔術師はそういう普通じゃない出会いだと？
何にしろ下法使いなのは確実でしょうね。もしかしたら副首領閣下殿に匹敵するのかもしれないっていうのはさすがにちょっと大げさかしら。
Impressive.
あんなのが何人もいるなんて私は考えたくありませんが、言われてみればハイドリヒ教もおっしゃっていましたね。前座の締めくくりとしては申し分ない。かなり珍しいですよ、あの人がそういうことを言うなんて。だから甘くないのは確かなんでしょう。
Fuck no. Looking at the situation, it was likely that some madman who didn't fear death was still spreading curses even after meeting his end. Obviously, we were dealing with someone who had a whole bunch of screws loose.
まあ私たちが自滅するかどうかはともかく、なんだか意味深な構図になってるわね。未来との開口みたいな。これから先やっていくためにもここで見るべきものはあるでしょう。
Babylon turned around. We followed after her, ready to face the anomaly. That was when...
「ちょっといいですか？」
A large amount of that just went over my head.
何？
We turned around to the source of the voice, drawn out as if to purposely kill the mood. Then we saw Claudia looking strangely bashful.
私、おトイレ行きたいんですけど。
What? Okay, there are no words for this. Even I was completely speechless.
参ったな。これはなんとも頼もしい。重大任務よ。お願いしていいかしら、ビアトリス。
Yeah, I literally have no idea what the hell that was all about.
はいはい、了解いたしました。ほらクラウディア、あっちでお花を摘みましょうね。
すみません。緊張するとこう生理的にですね。
Okay.
いいからとっとと言えこら。
Oh my god. As if keeping me from making my anger physical, Babylon placed her hand on my shoulder.
ところでベイ、私の中であなたへの好感度がだいぶ上がり始めてるわ。どうしましょう。
Don't.
知るかあんなもん。
Poor Bay, he's getting teased.
そうなんですか。じゃあリザさんはこれが3度目の怪異になるんですね。
We're gonna be hearing some walking for a while here. Step, step, step. Damn it. Wait. Can I? Damn it! There. Alright, I'm going to have to end it there, but let yourself just casually listen to these steps as they just keep on going. I can feel my allergies starting to kick in here. Okay, so, looks like we're getting ready to see a bit of a mission that's going to take place. So that's going to be interesting. We learned a little bit about how human souls are used. Got a little bit of history concerning magicians, and apparently Claudia has to go to the party. Very well, that's great, that's fantastic, that's nice to know, and poor little Wilhelm got teased. Poor boy, can't handle 3 women, can he? Anyway, if you all like this, be sure to let me know. I will apologize for the shortness of today's episode. I feel the allergies are coming, and I don't want to be sniffly for the rest of this video. So if you all like this, be sure to let me know. I apologize once again. It looks like next episode we're going to be getting into some serious shit, which I'm going to be looking forward to. And if you all like this, be sure to let me know. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will definitely see all of you guys in the next video.